Yes, we are live. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Dr. Maggie Lieu and I'm so excited today to be hosting this live Q&A session all about the ESA Graduate Trainee Program. For those of you who don't know, I'm an astrophysicist working at the University of Nottingham. And there I teach machine learning in science, which is an MSc program. I've been at Nottingham for 5 years now, but before I moved to Nottingham, I was actually a research fellow at the European Space Agency. I spent an amazing 3 years living and working close to Madrid in Spain, and that's one of ESA's centres. And it was just the most incredible experience. Working at ESA, it was literally my dream job. I was just surrounded by such talented people that were motivated and passionate about space, just like me. They were essentially like my extended family, and they still are. So working at ESA definitely shaped me, who I am today, and got me where I am today as well. So I'd love nothing more than help you guys find your place in the space industry. Now, the European Space Agency is this truly unique organization. They have centers all across Europe, even as far as like Baltimore in the US. And the graduate trainee program, which is what we're going to talk about today, as well as other jobs in ESA. There's loads of opportunities in a huge range of areas, not just science and engineering, but you'll find things like HR, finance, communications, basically anything that you would expect a big organization to have, they will have it. So there might be a career for you in whatever background that you're in at ESA. Now, this is going to be a 2-hour session, and it's going to be your chance to get your questions answered about the program. We have this fantastic panel lined up for you today. Today, we're joined by Kane, who is the ESA entry-level coordinator. He's going to be able to give us all the essential details about the application process, the eligibility criteria, what you can expect from the graduate trainee program. And even better, we have 3 current trainees here with us today, Sofia, Tatiana, and Armin. And they'll be sharing their first-hand experiences, giving you insights into what it's really like to be part of the program and answering your questions, whatever they might be, on their day-to-day work, on their challenges at working at ESA, maybe the amazing opportunities they had. Anyway, I want you to get your questions ready, put them into the chat. I'll be monitoring it throughout. So, yeah, get whatever you want to ask. Let's go into it. I'd also love for you to drop down where you are. I know a few of you have already started posting destinations that you've come from. We've got Greece, hi Greece, Buenos Aires, Germany, Italy, France, all over really. So let me know where you're from. But before we dive into the Q&A, I'd love our guests to introduce themselves. So Andrew, would you like to start us off?
Great. Thanks for that, Maggie. Thanks for the introduction. Can everyone in the chat type if they can hear me okay? I think that we're okay from a audio perspective, but yeah, I'm also monitoring it like Maggie is. Yes, perfect. Thanks, Liam. So, super. So yes, as Maggie said, my name's Andrew Kane. I'm the entry-level program coordinator at ESA. So I'm coordinating our entry-level programs, which include the internship program, the research fellowship program, junior professional program, national graduate trainee program, and the reason we're here today, which is the ESA Graduate Trainee Program. The eagle-eyed people out there who may have been applying in the past might know there's been a slight change in the name. So this is the EGT program is what was formerly known as the YGT program, the Young Graduate Trainee Program. We've had a rebrand for various reasons today, but the main purpose of the program and the content is exactly the same as it was before. It's just a change in name. So before I hand over to the others, a bit about myself. I was a YGT, now an EGT myself. In 2020, I started in Paris in headquarters. And since then, I've moved into this role where I'm based in Estec in the Netherlands, where I am today. And yeah, looking forward to answering any questions you have about the program. But I suppose now I'll hand over to our EGTs for a quick introduction. So let's go in alphabetical order. Armin, over to you.
Hello, yeah. I'm Armin. I'm currently EGT at the European Astronaut Center near Cologne, Germany. And for in the year before, I was also at Aztec as an EGT, working at more technical in electromagnetic compatibility.
Super.
I'm happy to be here today.
Perfect, magic. Sofia, I think we're over to you now.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Sofia. I'm Italian. I'm a second year EGT based in Aztec in the Netherlands. I'm a business analyst in CSC, which is connectivity and secure communication, so telecom basically. Today I'm connected from Italy because I'm teleworking from here because I came to visit my family. And yeah, my backgrounds are in engineering and international management. Happy to be here too.
Perfect, magic. Thanks so much, Sofia. Tatiana.
Hi everyone, I'm Tatiana. I'm Italian too, like Sophie. But today I'm actually in Aztec, like Andrew, and I'm also a second year EGT. Sorry, I still have to get used to it. And my occupation here is RAMS, which maybe not everyone knows about it. It stands for reliability, availability, maintainability, and safety, mainly risk management, let's say. Yeah, happy to be here and to share the experience with you.
Fantastic. So before I take loads of these questions, a lot of these questions are about eligibility of the EGT program. So maybe, Andrew, you could start us off with answering what exactly is the EGT program and like what are the requirements of it?
Yeah, exactly. I've been monitoring the chat as well, and I can see, from many different angles about the eligibility. The first one I'll address directly. We had a question from, it's moved a bit quick, but someone was asking, is there like an age limit? Yes, it was David. No, and that's actually part of the reason why we've rebranded to ESA Graduate Trainee instead of Young, because actually the program has always been about your level of experience. It's not about your age. So we get EGTs of all different ages, but the idea is simply that we are an entry-level program. So we're looking for really up to 1 year of post-master's degree professional experience. We're not one of those organizations where the entry-level program must have 10 years of experience to apply. It's quite the opposite. We have lots of different roles and programs and regular staff positions based on your experience. But the EGT program is specifically for those of you who don't have much space experience, because the program can give you the opportunity to get that on your CV. So just when it comes to the experience or age criteria, I hope that answers. And then the other thing, hopefully over this side, you'll be able to see the ESA patch that we have here with all of the different flags that we have. It's not a complete list for the EGT program, but you'll see the countries we have there are our 23 member states. So Slovenia being the newest member state as of January the 1st this year. But also we have our associate members with Slovakia, Lithuania, and Latvia. We even have Canada as a cooperating state. And then in addition to that, there's a question from Andreas about the cooperating states. So we also have 4 cooperating states. This is the first year that Maltese applicants will be able to apply to the EGT program, in addition to Croatia, Bulgaria, and Cyprus. So if you're from any of these nationalities, you will be eligible to apply to the program. And then just very quickly, in terms of what the actual experience of being an EGT is, it's a 1 year initial contract, but I would say most EGTs extend for a second year. And we can talk a bit about that later. We have a case like Armin's who extended into a different team for his second year, or Sofia, Tatiana, and myself, we all stayed in the same subject area for our second year, but no more than 2 years, but most commonly 2 years is the format. And it's a chance for some real hands-on learning. It depends entirely on your role. So We have over 100 positions that are on jobs.esa.int right now, and each vacancy will specify about the role that you, and responsibilities that you'll have when you're a trainee. But really, there's much more than just what's written there. We'll get into it, I think, later with the extracurricular activities, the social side, everything that comes as the EGT package. But yeah, hopefully that's a quick overview. And then also just to say, we're in February right now. These positions opened on the 1st of February. They will close on the 28th of February. You have the whole of the month to get your application in. It doesn't matter if you submit your application on the 1st of February or the 28th. We will consider them all equally, though we do advise you not to submit on the very last day. Even though I'm not 100% on the exact statistics, but it's about half of people apply on the last day and half of the people apply in the last hour. Myself also, when I was EGT, don't do as we did, do as we say, and try and apply early, get in your applications. You never know what could go wrong with IT. Don't take the chances. But yes, it's basically my top advice at the very top of this session would be take your time. You can only apply to. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Andrew, how many can everyone apply for? That was something from Nick.
Yes, just about to say, so we had three. Three is the maximum, and that's why you should take your time, because you've only got 3 to apply to, and you're probably going to be eligible for more than 3 positions. So really take the time to pick the 3 that most interest you and you think you're the best fit for. Read through all of the vacancies. Do a control click, open all of the tabs for every vacancy, read through every single one, and then make your application based on that. And that would be my top advice. Yeah.
Would you recommend one letter for all 3 vacancies, or one for each?
I would say personalizing for each of the positions you apply to is good. And I would say not just for the motivation letter, but also your CV. It doesn't take too much time to just really tweak your CV for the specific role that you're applying to. It's a very small thing that you can do, but it shows that we know that everyone's applying for many different kind of graduate jobs, but we'd like to think that you take a little bit extra time when it comes to ESA, because we're not the same kind of employer, the usual employer that you would find elsewhere. So really just personalize and maybe put in, one of the things I saw which stood out was someone put the role that they were applying to in their CV at the top. It's just a very small tweak. It's not really substantive in terms of experience or anything like that, but it shows you've really dedicated and researched and taken the time to apply, and it really is appreciated. Yeah.
Great. So we have this question from Sergio Moya Vinuesa. They want to know if you guys have any pro tips for the application, and I guess there's no one better to answer that than our 3 current trainees. So I think, like, if each of you give maybe your best tip, maybe Tatiana, start us off.
Yeah, on my side, it was a bit of a weird situation because I didn't even know about the EGT. Let's say I studied space engineering, but I didn't know. So my professor texted me like I think 5 days before the deadline was over, and told me there is a position that's really on what you're doing for your thesis. So I applied for that. I only applied for that one, so I don't know exactly how it works for the other options. But in my case, I think it was really relevant, the fact that I kind of tackled in my motivation letter and everything all the points that were there in the application. And also, yeah, I tweeted a lot my CV to only put things relevant to my position. And yeah, I would say that one, and also applying for a position that was really on my expertise, I would say, was maybe the best tip that I can give. Even if a lot of other things looked very interesting, I had time to only do one, so I went for this. Yeah.
And my tip was similar than Tatiana's. So my experience is always, when it comes to engineering, that you like the projects you already did and the experience you already got is the most important thing. And I took the time, I guess, to really emphasize the experience I already had, maybe also the little things I did at some point a bit aside, which would match the offer, the job offer. And I think that makes a difference. That's good.
And Sofia?
Yeah, for me it was a bit different because I had zero space experience before. I didn't even know what almost ESA was, to be completely honest. So what happened to me was literally I didn't have an engineering expertise in one field. I was more business oriented, and my engineering background still is very let's say wide. I cover a lot of parts. So there were quite different positions that could fit, let's say, my profile, which was also a surprise to me because I thought at first ESA was only engineering, only astronaut and those kind of things. But no worries. There's literally space for everyone. So for me, like the most important part was really try to look into the different possibilities that I had, things that could be interesting for me because I didn't know exactly which field I wanted to enter and expertise myself in. So I tried to do that. And once I had only a few applications, I also decided to apply only, but our time it was only 2. So I only applied to the 2 that I really saw myself based on what I like doing and what my passion were. And that's where I got selected too.
I think that's some great tips there. Hopefully you guys took something from that. Luke Hyde wants to know, are there any opportunities for biologists and other life sciences?
Yes.
I want Sofia and Tatiana maybe to talk about this in particular to one thing which might be interesting for people. Right.
We also need you for Wi-Fi too. No, I'm kidding. But no, for sure, there's actually a lot of people that, well, Tati and I know about it because we work on it in Wi-Fi too. But there's a lot of profiles that come from life science. There's also some EGTs that are only for that position. So just have a look. And I think it's really a big added value to ESA in general because it's a specific expertise that it's really needed in many missions. So it's definitely interesting field.
Sofia, for those of you who don't know, that don't know what that mission is about, could you give a brief liner about the project?
Yeah, so YPSat-2, YPSat is the young professional satellite. There's 2 generations. The first one was launched and was successful on the maiden flight of Ariane 6 in July. And Armin actually worked on it. Tati and I were working on the second generation, which is YPSat-2. It's completely different. We're working on 2 scientific payloads. So one tries to create life. The other one tries to, let's say, make life safer for astronauts and maybe health on Earth. And our goal is to launch middle of 2027 on board of Space Rider. And I'm the project manager and Tati works in payload design, which is super nice because it's very different from what she does for her YGT.
Yeah.
Tatiana, maybe you even have a little demonstration that you can show.
I was showing Sofia before doing the call because it's a bit late. Yeah, we just 3D printed one of my designs. This is one of my babies. And that is also a small cell which is going to contain the experiment that's going to go inside. But yeah, like I will not stay here to explain, but this is only half of it, so that's why it's cut. But yeah, we are super happy about this. Today was a great day. So
that's great. If I could just take the opportunity to mention also, on the ESA official YouTube channel, we have actually a very short documentary, 3 parts. I think they're about 15 minutes each, the episodes. If you, search for YPSat, all as one word, you'll be able to find them. And you'll even be able to see Armin as one of the stars of the documentary in there, explaining how the first one went. And it really goes from the concept and design phase all the way through to, spoiler alert, a very successful launch. But yeah, Armin, how was your experience working on YPSat one?
Yeah, it was great. And especially, because it was a great learning experience. Huh? As a YGT, in my first section in my first year of EGT, I had a research task, which was also very interesting. I built a model to predict electromagnetic radiation from cables. And aside of that, I was like the EMC engineer of the YPSat-1 team. And I was tiered directly into a real space project and got the responsibility there to be the test engineer for this special type of tests of this real spacecraft. So, and I don't, even if you're in the space industry, I think you don't have the opportunity to test a real flight model very, very often. And so that was really, really nice. And I learned a lot and great team.
So these projects, they were completely led and run by EGTs, right? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But we still need the experts, though.
Exactly, yes.
We don't do it all.
Yeah. But I think linked maybe to what Armin was just saying, one of the cool things when I remember from YPSat-1, when you're speaking to the experts at ESA who helped you, a lot of them had not been involved in this kind of really hands-on side for many years, sometimes decades. And for them, it was really cool to go back, and they were super keen to provide the support and assistance in the laboratories. And they were probably a bit jealous of the entry-level people who were working on it, right?
Yeah.
And so can any YGT get involved, or do you have to audition and have some special skill, or?
There's a selection. There's, let's say, many EGTs, want to be part of. So there's not a, let's say, predefined schedule of applications. But once you enter ESA, you will be informed by many things. But one of the things, there's also Young ESA, who is basically the community of young professionals that tries to bring the younger view, let's say, in different activities. And within that, you will receive some emails to keep the community connected. And there we also recruit for YPSat-2. So when there is open position, we send out an email. There is a form, you can just apply to it, and there is a recruiting process. But first step, you enter ESA, and then from there you will figure it out.
I think there's no danger that Sofia and the team, you will be spamming whoever joins to try and get people, because it's natural when you're only here for 1 or 2 years as an EGT that if the project lasts a bit longer, you need the handover. So you actually get a lot of really cool experience with even, let's say, project management and that side of things as well. So yeah, keep an eye out for YPSat-2 if you're selected.
Right, so I've got a question from Ksenia Papchenko. It says, hi, I'm Ksenia, Italian, based in the UK. I have a PhD in chem engineering, graduated last year. It's not enough experience to apply for a postdoc at ESA. Can I still apply for the graduate program? So I'm going to jump in there as a research fellow and say that is enough experience for a research fellow at ESA. I jumped straight out of my PhD into my research fellow position. But maybe Andrew could answer.
You've got it completely right, Maggie. Actually, so it's true that if you've just graduated from the PhD, I think you're in a bit of a sweet spot where you are eligible almost for 2 programs, but probably the best fit for you is more down the research fellowship if you want to stick into the research side of things. So you're a good example, Maggie, of someone who's stayed in the academia route by using ESA. And I would say that our research fellowship program, it's not your traditional postdoc necessarily. It's something of a hybrid between a job and a traditional fellowship, a postdoc. And it's maybe a bit shorter than some of the other ones because of this. But that is for sure an option for any recent PhD, someone who's defended their thesis for PhD. But also, yes, you can apply if there's a suitable EGT position, if you're probably looking to go on a more applied, practical route, I would say. But just, to reiterate on the experience point, it's really, since your graduation, mainly of your master's degree, but also PhD, it's really up to about 1 year of experience. We're not looking for people with too much experience, because if you've got more than that, we have the junior professional program, which will relaunch this April for those with 2 to 3 years of experience. And you're also all free to apply to the regular staff positions that we have at ESA, where you might have the right fit for that, although usually we say around 3 years of experience for regular staff. Yeah.
Great. So continuing on that theme, Copper 1S wants to know, can trainees work on obtaining a doctor's degree or PhD whilst doing their traineeship? And I've worked with several YGTs who, after their YGT, went on to do PhDs, but can they do it during that time?
I think, as you describe, is the ideal way, because what you need to understand about the EGT in the chat is that it's really a full-time position. So you can't, and a PhD should be the same as well. So you can't really manage two full-time positions ideally at the same time. So what's very common, as you mentioned, Maggie, is that they do a year, maybe 2 years of an EGT, and then use that as a nice platform to then go work on a PhD thesis, and then potentially could even come back as a research fellow, like you did yourself. Yeah.
We're getting a lot of questions about like CVs and the format of CVs, and do we need to make it the Europass CV? How many pages? Things like that. Personally, whilst I was at ESA, I interviewed some not YGTs, but the trainees, and it was so weird seeing the CV formats from all over the world. Like in some countries, it's really normal to have a huge splash of like their picture essentially in their CV, and then like for me from the UK, it's really weird to include your photo at all, because we see that as kind of a way to induce bias, because they're like, oh, that person looks pretty, let's select them, or something like that. Is there a rule for it? What did you guys do? Sofia, Tatiana, Armin, did you put your big pictures slashed over your resumes?
Well, I chose not to, mainly because I didn't have a nice picture at the time. So I think that there is at least when I applied, there were no really strict rules available, or I couldn't find them on the website. So I supposed, okay, both is okay. I can do as I think it's good, as I think it's best. And since I hadn't a picture and I had a nice CV design without place of for a picture, so I chose not to.
Yeah, I could just jump in and maybe say that indeed there were no strict guidelines then, and there aren't now, because as Maggie said, we recognize that there's lots of different cultures of CVs from all of our member states and associate members and cooperating states. So if you want to put a picture, you can put a picture. If you want to use Europass, you can use Europass. If you want to use your standard format, you've been tried and tested through various internships, you can do that. We don't care so much about the format, but obviously the advice would be, it shouldn't be such a big document. So I always personally like 1 page, but we have had successful EGTs with 2 pages, sometimes even 3 pages. There's no restriction there, but you just go into it with the mentality of you want to get across everything that we should know about you and why you're good for the position. That's the main thing. If that goes into 2 pages, no problem, but try to keep it as a good snapshot, because that's often going to be what the hiring manager looks at first, and they want a quick visual. And we do have some positions where there's many applicants, and that's the thing that can make you stand out. And so it's more about the content they're looking for rather than the format or the design. But Sofia, Tatiana, I don't know what your format was when you applied, but I was like Armin, I didn't have a photograph for mine.
Yeah, same from my side. I already heard about the picture thing, so I never put my picture in my CV. And I got everyone I asked around, they were telling me only one page. And I think it's also quite good to see how you can summarize. For me, it was quite challenging. I think it took me a day. So to put everything in 1 page. But I put 1 page, try to put only the strictly necessary that can be read also, because that was an issue. But
yeah, for me it was the same. I was coming from a business school where these things are very important. So we had actually courses. But yeah, it was one page, no picture. And yeah, I just had the layout of my university.
Cool.
Yasmina wants to know, how can we tailor our application to make it stand out? Is motivation more important than work experience? Let's go in reverse order. So Sofia, you start us off this time.
Is it basic if I say balance it out? But I really think it goes a bit back to what we said before. It's a matter of really finding in everything that you did. That doesn't have to be only professional, in my opinion. What really stands out for the position that you're applying, why you showcase also the motivation and what doing this experience can bring to you and to your future growth. So for me, it's really that, because you can do a lot of jobs that maybe don't really add value to the experience you selected. Why? I don't know, you did some volunteering or you did some side projects or many other things that really, really can give you that added thing that other applicants don't have.
From my side, I would say that Sofia almost said it all. I think work experience is still maybe a must, let's say, depending on the position, because maybe there are some more specific positions in which you need to have some types of skill. Instead, there are other ones in which it's more about growing and learning together with the position. But I would say work experience, and then if you can write something personal about yourself that also makes people want to read what you're writing. I think it's also quite important. On my side, I had two people interviewing me, also one that was more interested in the skills, the other one that you could see that were more interested about my personal life. So in my case, I really had to balance it out a lot.
Yeah, for me, it's when I read the vacancy, I was just like, wow, that's perfect for me. That's what I want to do. That's really what I want to do. And try to find that you're really convinced by the position and that you want to do that. And then it's a lot easier to write the application and to write the papers in the CV. And then it's a lot easier to balance that out, because you maybe have a feeling like how do you want to convince the people by what you did, by what your experience are, and stuff like that. So maybe that's the most important thing, that you find something that you really like.
I totally echo that, and all of your points. But I'd also say one of the things that, and I think Alex is also asking in the chat if it's just for CV or motivation letter, but I think it applies equally for both, is that because it is an entry-level program, we're not expecting you to have tons of work experience, but you may have gained these skills or knowledge in university projects or in your courses or extracurricular activities. So try and get it across in that side. But don't worry, we're not expecting to have 6 years as a system engineer at Airbus. We have other jobs, staff jobs for that. But if you do have relevant internships, put them in there, including those that are maybe done between your bachelor and master degree. So even if you did a 1 year sabbatical where you're working between the masters and the bachelors, that doesn't count towards the 1 year experience level in terms of eligibility criteria. That's about after your master degree, but it still counts in terms of relevance for your application. So make sure to include that. And also just a bit linked to, is motivation important? Yes, and I want to share I won't put it on the screen, but we had an applicant for one of the entry-level programs last year where the question was about what's your motivation to apply for this position? And their answer was, certainly, if you're applying for a job position at the European Space Agency and they're asking you about your motivation, you can respond with something like this. And then they put their generative AI answer, probably from ChatGPT, my goals, blah, blah, blah. If you're going to apply, at least remember to remove the first paragraph, which reveals that you didn't write any of this. But actually, more importantly, really just take the time to actually write it yourself. It's like, it's not that much extra time. and we really get across your motivation for the position. But yeah, if you are going to do that, at least take away the telltale sign. That would be a very top advice of what not to do. So I would say that. Yeah.
Thanks. That's some really great advice there. So, Al Lai wants to know what makes ESA so different, and I think that's going to be different for each one of you. For me, I just love space. So working in an environment where everyone is as passionate about space as I was is like completely different to like working at the University of Nottingham where I am now. They're all really intelligent people, but they all have their own kind of special niches whereas ESA, everyone is like, yes, space, we love space, which is very me. I think that like drives a lot of my own motivation as well, working around people with the similar passions as you. Tatiana, do you want to go? Okay, go ahead,
just literally link to that, because
sure.
I think mine's the same for you, but from a different angle, is that I came from a political science background. But what I really like about working at ESA is just through osmosis, you get that enthusiasm for space by walking down the corridors, speaking to colleagues, working on different things. Like Tatiana lifting up the YP-SAT model, this kind of stuff, it really gets you an engagement to space. Exactly. And so for me, it's again, the space angle is of course very unique and different and attractive, but it's not just for people who have always dreamed of working in space or being an astronaut. Or what's cool about ESA is there really is a position for everyone, no matter what your degree. Yeah. Sorry to jump in. I think you were passing on. Yeah.
Yeah, no, from my side, it's, well, of course, everything that you said, but also the fact that kind of, at least here in Aztec, it's quite like one of the bigger sites. So there are really a lot of people, and every day anything can kind of happen to you. I don't know. Like sometimes I walk around in the corridor and there is Simonetta Cristoforetti that's walking around and talking with someone else. And I am like in a position in which I'm so used to this that I don't even like, I'm not like even like, oh my God, what's happening? So I don't know. I also like, since I've been here, I'm a space engineer, so I know a bit of all the different sides of space, let's say. But here I actually got to see all of them. Like I have friends that do everything, let's say. So I got the experience from a person that works inside of space from so many different backgrounds. And also like the nationality of the people is crazy. You see someone from everywhere. So it's, I don't know, the diversity, the environment that you have around, it's really crazy. For me, it's that part, the highest peak, let's say.
Yeah, so I think like the space enthusiasm here everywhere. Of course, the internationality is very nice. I also do have the YGT community, which is all cool. There are lots of trainees and interns around, and you're into that, and you find sounds a bit simple, but you find a lot of new friends. That's really nice. And also for me, in my first position, I was then trainee in a section full of experts, full of really die-hard ESA experts. And this is also a professional-wise a really, really cool experience to work a year with these guys and to learn a lot. And not only guys, also.
Understood.
Yeah, for me, it's just everything that you guys said. I totally agree with experts. To me, it's literally, I love going to the office because every day almost I talk with a different expert and I learn so much. And it's just incredible. Like as Andrew, I was not into space, but now it's like, it's my daily thing and I love it. It makes me happy. I really want to go to work excited to do what I do. So that's for sure a big added value. And what I really, really love about ESA is that with my character, it really allowed me to follow my path, to grow in the things that I wanted to explore, and I was able to do that. I don't think there's many companies that allow you to really have the flexibility in working on things that make you passionate. So I really think your EGT is in your hands. So you create an incredible story of 2 years. And I think for us, we're becoming a bit nostalgic because we're going towards the end. So I feel like an old lady talking about it. But really, when I look back, the power I had in making the decisions that really could shape my future have been incredible. And I'm really, really thankful to ESA for that.
That's a really lovely message. Thank you. I've got Benjamin Pa. He wants to know, is it possible to bring my family, i.e. partner and child, to the location of the internship? So before I pass on to maybe Andrew to answer that, I just wanted to say that whilst I was working at ESA in Madrid, it was just like the best facilities were always were there. They have like amazing gym facility, tennis courts. They like people say the canteen isn't great, but I actually liked going in the morning and being able to get a fresh smoothie there in the mornings. And I know in the site in Harwell in the UK, collectively they have a daycare on site. So I don't know, what are the kind of facilities that would be available if people need childcare, things like that, or like specifically, can they bring their family over to that location?
Yeah, absolutely, Maggie. So it's I would say it's not the most common, but it's absolutely does happen every year. I could cite specific cases. And so just on Benjamin's question, so even in the situation that your partner spouse might be a non-national of ESA, which has happened in the past, we will be able to support them with relocating to the site where you are going to be based. So just as a recap of where you could potentially be working, basically going to be France, the Netherlands, Italy, Germany, Spain, and the UK, and Belgium, I'd say, are the main core, but there's also a position, and I think one of the questions in the chat was asking, yes, there is a EGT position based in Kourou in French Guiana, supporting the European spaceport, but there's also, I think, this year we have the position in Washington, DC, even in the Washington office in our external relations team. It's really cool. And the principle is the same, that we offer that support. And also, if you happen to yourself be pregnant or that your partner's pregnant, you are also as an EGT eligible for the parental and maternity leave options that we have at the agency. So we are family friendly. Doesn't matter whether you are an EGT or a regular staff. And I'm just looking outside, and just beyond the perimeter of ESTEC, we have there's a creche here at ESTEC, and I know different sites have different facilities as well. But for sure, if you're in that situation where you have a family at the moment, you should know EST is a place that welcomes you.
Great. Maybe let's stick with Andrew. Some AS asked, how can applicants to social political science programs make sure they feel the knowledge of relevant technical functional domains part of the technical competencies requirements? Yeah,
sure. That's a good question. I think we can also answer, I think it was Dana's question in the chat as well, just about how I use myself as an example of someone who didn't come from an engineering or a science background. So I had a political science background, and in my professional experience in the past, I've had kind of various experiences. Actually, I used to work on the trading floor of an investment bank. I worked with Google for a bit. I was football commentary writing, so very different, nothing to do with space on the face of it. But I found a way to get space onto my CV, even if it was just adding that. I remember I put that my favorite book, which is true, is Pale Blue Dot by Carl Sagan. And this ended up being quite a large chunk of my interview, because they were fine with when I applied to be an EGT. The technical side, I met the certain competencies, but from a motivational side, if you're applying to a non-space position, like let's say on the legal side, the business, communications, you can find a way to add your own hobbies in there or interests, or I should take the chance to plug the ESA Academy, because this is also one of the things that we offer at the agency, where you can get some training courses in various disciplines, including space law. So, for example, if you have a general legal background and are interested in applying, that's one of the ways we will fully pay for you and sponsor you to come. I think those courses are usually in Gregory in Belgium, where our education offers them. And you can get some space on your CV that way. And that's open to the same nationalities as the EGT position, but also you must still be a current student. So that, with your extracurricular activities as well, you can find a way to put space on your CV without having been a space engineer, aerospace engineer. And you're welcome to apply to the ESA Academy courses, which are technical, even as a non-technical person, so long as you meet the other eligibility. Yeah.
Great. Little Alex Stan wants to know, could you give us some tips for the interviews? So maybe start with Armin with that one.
Okay. So for me, the interviews were, I was super excited, but that's okay. I think that's normal. For me, it was very technical, and that's also matched my experience from before. If you apply to a technical position, it really turned around what projects I already did and what are my technical competencies, and it also came really down to really technical question, a bit like an exam, which I then did answer somehow as good as I could, and I didn't especially prepare for it, because that's hardly possible. I managed to sleep well, and then I was there.
I could jump in on, because I remember I was actually on your interview board. I remember, and you did a very good interview. But what I would say, just in terms of the technical side, you mentioned there's going to be a technical component, but there'll also be a behavioral component of the interview where someone from HR will join. And these behavioral competencies are all listed in the vacancy notice. So whilst the questions, they're not really looking for, the right answer, it's more the way that you think and how you address the questions. Keep an eye out for the behavioral side as well, because even if I remember your interview was definitely very technical heavy, that's also a very important part as well, that we're looking for the right kind of behaviors and characters of people who join us. But you passed, so don't worry, you did a good job.
Thanks. And now I also remember that you were in my interview, and I have to say that don't fear this behavioral part. It was very, it came easy, so it felt easy. Yeah.
Exactly.
Maybe Sofia?
My interview was the same. I started off with the technical part because my business analyst position that I applied to was literally very similar to a previous internship that I did. So they basically asked me everything about that internship, even which code I wrote to plug it. There was I would say it was 1 hour interview, let's say 30 minutes that was technical. Then my line manager and supervisor asked me a bit more personal question about what I like to do in life, like what type of person I want to be. And now I understood, because they really wanted to find somebody that could fit to team as well in the section. And then I also had the HR part, so the behavioral part. But there, I really think just be yourself, show them the person that you are, because that's really what they're trying to see there. Try to be structured in your answer, to the point, and you'll be okay.
Great. Tatiana?
From my side, I only had 2 interviews. One was mainly technical, let's say. They only put 2 questions in the behavior, and the second one was mainly on the HR. And in the technical one, almost like Sophie, they asked me what I was doing in my thesis because it was very similar to the position. And they asked me some acronyms, yes, so some things that I had to study for, but mainly my now supervisor, she asked me to reason, like give her the reason why I made some choices. So it was a lot about understanding how I think, how I find solutions regarding the issues at hand. So for me, that one was mainly the technical part. I was very, very happy that I felt confident in that because I was also very, very anxious. And regarding, in my case, they didn't ask too much about my personal life, but I think it depends a bit on team and team. But yeah, they asked me about, I would say, general HR questions, like my experience in teamwork and things like that. And I try to use my experience a bit in uni and the projects that I did for that. I have to agree with Armin. It looked like the behavioral part, it looks a bit easier. And also you have to, they ask you also ESA questions. So this is quite important. For me, I didn't know. I found out like 30 minutes before. I did a bit of snooping around and I kind of managed, but I know that one is quite important.
I think that's important also, like for me, that I didn't have too much space experience. That was a way for them to see if I really was motivated by joining ESA, if I even knew what it was. So there I really had quite a bit of question on ESA, like even just tell me 5 member states just to understand, okay, you know what it is, you know what you sign up for, what's your favorite mission, why do you like that mission, like things like that.
For me,
that's really good advice.
Of the last year.
Yeah.
I think as well, generally they're looking for someone who's really well fit to that position rather than the best person. There might be someone with an amazing CV, but they might not match the project very well. So don't think that because you don't have the best CV that kind of cuts you out for the positions. You should apply anyway.
Yeah, there's a reason we do interviews, and it's not just CVs. It's to get a real sense of how that person can fit in at ESA. And it does include what's on your CV, but other things too.
Absolutely. So keep the questions coming in. We're getting through a lot of them. If you've got specific questions for any of our trainees or Andrew, make sure you put it in there as well so I can read it out to them. I've got a question from Andrea Fusili, who wants to know, are there communities in ESA that organise social activities to help newcomers make new connections?
Tatiana, over to you.
So, I'm actually the co-lead of the working group that is called Newcomers and Social Events in Young ESA. So that's mainly what we do. As you said, we organize trips. Like I went on a few of them last year. We did a ski trip. Also, Sophie was there. Then we did a trip to Naples, and we went also to visit Ezrin, and Armin was there. And we went to French Guiana. That one was very, very nice to see the site, but also go to the Django. But also we organize in each site some events every month. We have, for example, here in ESTEC, a newcomers lunch every month. Now we are maybe trying to do it 2 times a month because sometimes people start at the 15. But yeah, like, so we have a news, as Sophie was saying, we have a mailing list in which we send everything that Young ESA does. And through these, we try to keep everyone engaged. We also have, in ESTEC at least, we have a Signal group, which is a kind of WhatsApp thing that we try to use to also communicate to the newcomers or to the people that are in the group if there are some events that are not officially organized, but for everyone to know. And also we have a newcomers guide for when you, if you will be selected, you will get in the starting package this newcomers guide in which a lot of EGTs from the years before, but also us, we try to update it every year. We put tips and information in general about your site and ESA and Young ESA. But it's super nice. Like for me, that's one of the things that I love the most about being here. Like not only the trips, but the social part, as Armin was saying. Like it's really like we are a lot. At least depends on the site, but we also meet with a lot of other site people from other sites. So that's super nice. And yeah.
Tatiana, could I ask you to like talk more about Kourou and the trip to French Guiana? Because I think that's kind of like a pilgrimage for any EGT or anyone working at ESA, because it's quite unique, right?
Yeah, a
So
lot.
this trip,
Armin,
Can
you were
I
also on the
put
trip, I
in
think.
there as
No,
well?
not yet, not yet.
Yes, Maggie, go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of people who work for ESA have like never been to French Crew as well. So that's like a huge thing that you got to go so
yeah.
early in your career.
Yeah, it has been it was there also a bit before I arrived, but we can try to structure it a bit because it's a trip not organized personally by us, by Young ESA, but the organizers are two people that work in Kuru, and one of them actually worked, doesn't work here anymore, but so they organized this trip as locals to visit the site. That's amazing. Like there are different people because they also ask some people that maybe are retired. There are some ESA staff that also comes to the trip. But as a Young ESA, we have 20 spots that are fixed for us. So this year, for example, we are organizing 3 trips. One is gonna go in March, and then one in September and October. And yeah, we go for 10 days to French Guiana. We have 2 days in which we go to the spaceport. And that is amazing because, for example, for me, there was a former ESA manager of the of the spaceport that was our guide. So we went in all the facilities. We were able to see, like, for example, the Ariane 6 launch base. Like, I went inside. So next time that I'm going to see the Ariane 6 going up, I know that I was there. Like, it was really amazing. But also we went to the jungle. We went to the islands, like the Devil's Island. I don't know if you saw Papillon. But yeah, like, it was a trip that had a lot of things. And also I managed to meet a lot of people from ESA, also staff and retired people that I maybe didn't meet before. But it was really, really amazing. Like, one of the best trips I've done so far, I would say. Yeah.
Besides social events that are specifically organized for YGTs, I know like there's also a lot of social clubs at ESA as well. I was wondering if any of you guys are involved in any of the clubs, and if you could tell our viewers what they can get involved in.
Sofia, I see you in Escape often. Can you explain what Escape is and what some of the clubs maybe are there?
Yes. So Escape is the place in Aztec where we have all the sport facilities, and literally whatever you can think of is there. It's amazing. I love that place. And on Fridays after work, we also go to catch up with colleagues, with friends, to have a drink before going home. So personally, I do a lot of sports. I love it. It's one of my favorite things of ESA as well, because literally even during lunch or after work, you can super easily in 2 minutes walk to Escape and do whatever sport you want. I do boxing. I started it when I started ESA. I do tennis, which I was doing before. I also went to the tennis tournament in Madrid with the tennis club that organized it. It was amazing. It was a great experience. I also saw the site in Spain, which was super nice. I do CrossFit. I do squash. I literally do everything, volleyball, everything there is I do. It's my way to get the stress out. But it's really, really nice. And if what you want to do is not there, you can even open your own club, propose an idea, which I think is incredible. So you can just say, hey, I would like to do this sport. They really guide you in all the application, if I can call it that way, and you can open up a club, a social club. I know there's also things outside of sports. There's also the gaming where they play games. I'm not an expert in that, but there's really a lot of clubs.
Armin, maybe
Yeah, indeed.
tell us a bit about EAC now that you've had experience in Germany. Too.
Okay, yeah. So, okay, you have to say it's a bit smaller here at EC. It's more familiar and more comfy. But that also comes that, okay, the variety of clubs is a bit smaller, but still there's a community which, like, I would say, meets also regularly at the weekend and discovers Cologne together, and from time to time also organizing trips. So you won't feel alone here either.
And Maggie, I know you know a bit about ESAC. Do you want to talk about how your experience in Madrid was with the facilities or clubs? Or?
The facilities were amazing, and ESA also promote you to have extracurricular. So, for example, I was part of diving club, and we would go on diving trips away on the weekend, partly subsidized by ESA as well. And yeah, like I said, there was tennis courts there. there was a gym there, so you can work out there and join all these different types of sports clubs. We did have a gaming club, board games mostly, I think they play. There's chess club, lots, like something for everyone. And like Sofia said, like if there's something that doesn't exist, you could make it. Yeah.
Well, I would just add it's basically the same at all of our establishments. And for example, in Paris, we've got a new headquarters since just a few years now. It's been renovated right in the heart of Paris, and there's even now the Annex there has been converted into a small gym. There's a music room, a climbing wall. So even at a relatively small establishment like the headquarters, you get this.
And for EAC, I just remembered like soon in 2 weeks we have here Carnival, and I heard it will be a huge thing on the side with the astronauts. So we'll see.
Yes, exactly.
I know there's also ESA Day, right? That started after I left ESA. Yeah. I don't know if you guys have ever participated in that. Maybe one of you want to talk about what it is, Tatiana, maybe, and if you've been involved.
Yeah, I went fortunately for 2 of them. And one of them was literally the week after we started. So it was a very good introduction to ESA. It's basically a day of work in which they tell you that you cannot work and you have to go. In our case, in Aztec, it was in Escape, to escape. And there were food trucks with different type of foods. You had unlimited drinks, alcoholic and non-alcoholic. You had different activities organized. There was, the directors did a bit of a speech. There was also, I think, the director general. I'm not 100% sure. We also did in the football field, we did a satellite photo. So they gave us some things to put on our head, and there was a satellite passing by taking a picture. And overall, there was the ESA logo made by us there. It was super nice. For me, it was a very good chance to meet everyone because I just arrived there. And I think some of my best friends here now, I met them and I started to hang out with them on that day. But yeah, it's super nice. Also, we had one in the beach last year. That was also super nice with the DJ and everything. It's like a party of ESA in which they celebrate the fact that you're working for them. I think it's super nice.
So it sounds like ESA really makes you feel like you're at home with family and friends, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I would maybe take the opportunity to mention another event, which is really relevant for the EGTs and the rest of the entry-level programs. Every year, with the Young ESA organization, we organize something called Young Professional Event, which is usually based here in Aztec. And it's a chance where if you're working in one of the other establishments, it doesn't matter if it's the Washington office, Carew, or any of the mainland European ones, you can come over to Aztec and participate in an all-day event where there's a panel with the Director General where you can ask question and answers. There's also themes around, depending on the year, what the organizational theme is. But beyond that, it's a chance to connect with all of the other people in the program from the different sites. And there's like a gala in the evening where you can go meet new people, make new friends. And I'd say it's one of the cooler parts. When I was at EGT, it was during COVID times, so I missed out on it as a trainee myself. But having now been part of it from, let's say, helping the organizers, you see it's such a cool event, and it's probably one of the highlights, I think, especially for those of you who are not based here in Aztec, because you get a chance to come over and see. I mean, this is the biggest site where most of your colleagues are working, actually, and you get a bit more of a connection with the core science and engineering work that we do. And you'll get a tour of the facilities, the labs, and all of this. It's really cool.
It sounds super fun. Andrew, you keep mentioning that you used to be a former graduate trainee yourself, and I think we've got a lot of questions. So I can't remember the exact names who said it, but there was a few who keep mentioning, like, after the EGT program, is there a possibility to work for ESA, and how many do they take and things like that? So do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I'm living proof that there are opportunities for people at the end of their EGT. We even have some EGTs who get hired as staff members in the middle of their EGT. It's definitely not the majority, I'd say, because conceptually, I think the program was more that come to ESA, get a bit of experience, then go out into industry and gain some more experience, and then come back. However, we are more open now than ever before, I'd say, in terms of recruiting current EGTs, the graduate trainees. And one of the reasons that is we're going through a massive retirement wave right now. Many of our colleagues in the past, let's say 5 years and the next 5 years will be retiring. And they need to be replaced. And so therefore, if you are right place, right time kind of EGT, just like I was, and there's a position that opens that matches, I just encourage you to apply, because every year there's EGTs that do get hired. And then in addition to that, we now have the pilot of the junior professional program is over, we're successful, and we're now doing this program on an annual basis. So this program, it's a 4-year training and development program that at the end of it, you have a permanent and indefinite contract as a staff member at ESA. There'll be 15 positions every year. And the target audience is for those with about 2 to 3 years of experience after their master's degree, which could be 2 years as an EGT, for example. So it's not that you have to be an EGT to be selected, not at all. But obviously, if there's a position which is linked to the kind of work you were doing, you're an ideal candidate. And so it's a nice pathway. The way I see it is it's great if you can get ESA Academy experience while you're a student, then maybe an internship while you're a student, a graduate trainee position, and then junior professional. You don't have to follow that track, but it's an obvious one that you could do. Yeah.
Thanks. Lisa K wants to know, does ESA help with relocation if I apply to a position not in my country?
Could I ask Armin to answer this, because he's done it twice?
Yes, yes, I've done it twice, and I got support from ESA twice. So as in the Netherlands, as well as here in Cologne, the apartment situation is tense. So it's not too easy to find something. But luckily, Aztec has a special housing officer, and every year when the big new EGT wave comes, they search for apartments already, and we got an email with a list, and we just had to say, okay, I want to have this apartment, and then we got it. And I think not everybody got one, but then there's as we said, a huge community of people who then also share places in shared flats, or they are moving out of their place, and then they post it first in the ESA group so that other people who might need something get something. So in the end, everybody has a place. In addition to that, you get also money as relocation allowance from ESA. So that's also not too bad.
So equivalent to a month of salary.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. It's a month of salary, and I got that money twice. Now also by moving here, and here at ESC there's not a special housing office, but the ESA paid an agency to help me find an apartment, and they knew a bit the place, so they gave me also they sent me already offers which they knew were available, and they would also assist me to contact the landlord if I find offers myself, and that worked very well for me. Yeah.
Great. AS wants to know, they said, I hear a lot on webinars about what life is like at Aztec, Esrin and ESAC, but could Andrew tell us about life at ESA HQ?
Yeah, sure. It's as I mentioned, that's where I began my career at ESA, and now we have this really brand new renovated headquarters right in the heart of Paris. It's 2-minute walk from the Eiffel Tower. You can see the Eiffel Tower from the office. So it's really in the center of Paris, which has its pros and its cons. Sometimes the metro in Paris is not the most reliable, but then personally I quite like the cycling situation in Paris. So it's very easy to get around and to get to the office. I'd say the the way that I view it, having now worked at STech and HQ, is I think I prefer Paris as a city to, say, Leiden or the surrounding areas, Nordwijk here. But I prefer STech as an establishment because it's so much bigger. So when you go to Paris, there's a trade-off with the size. You don't have as many great colleagues, but I can say that there is a very active early career professional network there. So you won't feel alone, that's for sure. And even there's a bit of a quirk when it comes to Paris is that we actually have two headquarters. We have a smaller office which is dedicated to our space transportation directorate, which is located in the 12th district of Paris, and it's shared with the French Space Agency and a few other organizations. But the vast majority of the positions that are available in headquarters now are based at the brand new one. And as I mentioned before, there's now sports facilities and music rooms and climbing walls and stuff there. But also when you're there, you can take advantage of the fact that when you're at STech, you will be exposed to the, let's say, science and technology walking down the corridors. But at Paris, you'll be exposed to really understanding that we're an intergovernmental organization, and you really feel the member states aspect and the politics of it, because they're often coming for program boards, for committees on various matters too. So you get to understand not just the great work we're doing at ESA, but how it all happens and how it's all funded and that angle. So yeah, it's very different, but very cool in a different way.
Keeping on similar topics, I want to ask Armin what it's like working at the EAC. Like, are you just bumping into astronauts all the time? Are you like always starstruck with them?
Basically, yeah, you're bumping into them all the time. I don't work with them directly. I did another project. I could also tell about that later. Yeah. But yeah, they are all around. So it can happen that you come here and you're a bit starstruck if you were into space before. Yeah. So as I said, it's not as bustling as STech is, because like STech is really big, really lot of people there. But therefore, it's more familiar here. You're quicker in knowing everybody, and it's way easier to talk to everybody, and that's really nice. Yeah.
So they have a massive swimming pool there as well, where they have like ISS module on there. Have you ever jumped in
the
there?
Columbus module, they can lower. It's a 10-meter deep pool, and they can lower so a model of the European Columbus module of the ISS, they can lower it into the water, and then the astronauts can train in there with simulated zero-G. Yeah, and that's already a cool thing. But then they also have the training hall where they have a lot of mock-ups of not only the Columbus module, but also of the ATV and some Russian module even, and you can walk around there and look at everything, and it's even possible to bring your friends and show them that. So that's really cool. So you can show around your family. And then we have this brand new facility, which is Luna, which is the new facility to test and train for the lunar surface, where the lunar surface is simulated, and the light situation on there and so on. It's also really, really cool.
So do you walk around there pretending that you're an astronaut and pretending that you're on the moon?
Yes. No, I'm not pretending to be an astronaut, because they're the real ones around, it's in this kind of like at Aztec, you really have the. For me, I really had the technical aspect of European spaceflight. So all the unmanned projects were done there. So like Hera was launched during it that time, and Euclid was set into work and stuff like that. And you get the feel of these projects. And here at ESC, everything, it's all about human spaceflight. And then like you really get a feel what it means to train for astronauting, because the astronauts are actually trained here, and you see also what they do, and you get to know like all the projects which were made with European human spaceflight, and you also know what's coming up. So like in March, I think already the next European astronaut is flying, Slavoj Uchansky, and yeah, of course that's a big thing here.
That's so cool.
Can I just add as well? I saw someone in the chat was saying that Sofia was low-key preparing to be an astronaut with all of her sporting activities and this kind of stuff. So maybe you're already on the track and you need to go to EAC, and Armin will book you over for training.
That's the secret goal of everybody here.
Yeah.
So Cami wants to know: are all the new positions continuously being released, or have they all been posted already?
They're all posted already. So the ones that you see there for the 2025 EGT campaign are the ones you can apply to. So up to 3 of those. Yeah.
Great. What else should we ask? There's so many questions. It's hard to decide which ones to go for next.
I jump in maybe for Oliver was asking one about when there's the start date, because I know a few others were asking earlier.
Sure.
Generally, what we'd say is that it's best to start in September, October, just because that's when most people will be starting, and so it's when you're going to be the maximum, the optimum time to like build your network, make friends, all of this kind of stuff. But we want to have people start in 2025. So if it's November, if it's December, it's possible. But and even if your recruitment goes very quickly, we could look at May. But I would say try and avoid. There's a reason we don't onboard in June, July, August, is that it's when the holidays are starting and it's not the best time for you to come. So we target September, October, and the key is you can negotiate your start date so long as it's within 2025. But make sure that once you start, within 3 months, you need to be able to provide evidence of your graduation, so your certificate and your diploma. So if you know your thesis defense might take you a bit into September, October, don't worry, you can start in November, December. But it's important that when you're an EGT that you have graduated. You have your master's diploma. So we have a bit of flexibility, but you can also bear that in mind when it comes to choosing a start date.
Right. There's a lot of questions about nationality. Eaton Buffaz wants to know if having a second nationality of a non-ESA member state is a problem. And Mehul Powell wants to know, does nationality play a role in the application? Say that you're already eligible for it, but afterwards are over or underrepresented ESA states more or less favoured?
Yeah, I can explain this one. It's a very common question I think that we get. So the fundamental principle for the EGT program is you should be from one of the flags you see up here on our patch, or also Bulgaria, Cyprus, Croatia, and Malta as cooperating states. That's the fundamental principle. So as long as you're from these countries, you're eligible to apply. And every year we hire people from across these different member states. It's also true that we have in our convention, we have an aim to try and have a balanced geographic distribution. So yes, we are looking specifically to try and improve that. So if you're from an underrepresented member state, like even better. But just because you're not from an underrepresented state doesn't mean you shouldn't apply. And every year it's the case that we do hire people from there. But it's just the main criterion is that you are from an eligible country. You shouldn't be worrying about the under representation as an applicant. It's mainly about you're from the right one. And when it comes to dual nationality, as long as you have one nationality that's from one of our member states, that's fine. So it doesn't matter if you're Swiss American or Lithuanian Chinese, whatever, it's not a problem as long as you have one of them. It is true for certain positions. So I'd say in our Human Robotic Exploration Directorate, our Space Transportation Directorate, that there might be additional background checks based on your second nationality, but I don't think it's a showstopper. You know, it's as long as you're from an eligible, you hold the passport, the citizenship, so not just the residence, you are eligible to apply.
Great. Another one that a few people have asked, in Britain, we have like integrated masters, right? So those are masters that are built into your like bachelor's degree already. That means they don't have a highest degree obtained. Should we upload our A-levels instead?
I saw that question was from Liam, I think, and it's a good point. The UK is a little bit different compared to some of the other countries. Your highest degree obtained, Liam, I know it's an integrated master's, but it would not be considered a deception or anything if you put bachelor's degree, or if you want to put high school, that's fine. The main thing is just there'll be a question that you can tick the box to say that you will have graduated your master's degree by the time that the program starts, and that's how we're looking. Of course, we'll do an additional check after that, but it's just important that you will have completed your master's degree. It doesn't matter if it's integrated or if it's, let's say, the kind of master's that you would find in France or in Italy. You would just make sure to make that distinguishing feature in your application.
Yasmina wants to know, when will they hear back after the closing date?
Yes, it's a good question. It will vary a little bit, but the idea is that the program will close for applications in February. Then the screening and interviews will be taking place in March, April, in some cases May. Should not go generally beyond that. So you should have an answer by April, May time. And hopefully this will give you enough time to apply, not to apply, but to sort out your move if you're moving to a new country or city. They can go a bit longer. There's various reasons why, but I'd say that the vast majority of positions will be complete within the month, let's say, something like that.
So everyone should keep sending their questions in. We're looking forward to answering them. I'm going to ask one of my own now to get one for the trainees. I'm going to ask you to describe what your day-to-day work life is, and if you can describe like a project that you're working on. Let's start with Sofia.
Sure. So, what do I want to say? Okay, so I usually always go to the office. As I said, I think ESA is quite flexible. You can also telework either from, like for me, the Netherlands, so where I live in Leiden, or also from a member state countries, which is quite nice. If you want to travel around or go visit your family, you're always free to telework. But for me, when I'm in the Netherlands, I always try to go to ESTEC because I think it's really nice to be in person there, to meet the person, and also for the job and project that I follow, it's quite important to be on site. So I take the bus. There is a bus that takes you from Leiden to ESTEC. It's very easy, very comfortable. They also extended it now, so I don't even have to change bus. So it's amazing. It's nice. I hope it's starting to work better because we had some issues, but now it should be solved. And when I arrive in ESTEC, we have a coffee corner where we can get coffee and croissant, and where I basically have breakfast. So that's what I do. I get my oat cappuccino and usually a yogurt, and then I go to my office and start my working day. I love getting in early just because there's less people and people don't bother me too much with messages, and I can get my work done. So then my day starts. As I said, I'm the project manager of WIPESA 2, while I also do my EGT. So I'm a special case. My days are a bit long, but not everyone. It gives you also a little of freedom in deciding how your workload is, which is also very, very nice. So yeah, I start working either on my WIPESA or I solve issues for WIPESA 2. And then I usually always do some sports at the end of the day or at lunch. and then I go back home. I live with a girl that is also EGT, in Aztec, so that's quite nice. And I live close to Tati, so I also see Tati all the time. but yeah, that's a bit my work day. Many meetings, codes, writing, labs. Now we start going in the labs. That's super cool, guys. I'm super excited about it. We do testing, so that's really, really nice. And project, I'm going to talk on what I do in YPZ2 because I love it. It's my biggest, it's my baby. Forgive me for that. But yeah, YPZ2, we're working on the two payloads that I described before. And for me, being project manager means leading the team internally. So we're 55 young professionals at the moment, some working more on the technical part and some working more on the science part. And I try, usually when they reach to me, there's problems. So I usually solve issues and try to make the team work forward, understanding that we meet the deadlines that we have and that we are on budget compared to what we estimated. My job is to interface with management and with the different supporters that funded us. So I do that and I connect with the expert. I organize reviews. We closed the preliminary design review in November, which was a huge milestone for us. And at the moment, we're in the critical design review. So in September, we would, through ESA expert, hopefully close CDR as well. And yeah, that's a bit it, I think.
It's really nice. You did mention that you work a lot of hours, but I wanted to mention that at least at ESAC, when I was working there, we had to clock in and clock out every day. It's more like a business rather than being at university, because at ESA, they really care about work-life balance and maintaining that kind of work-life balance and your social life and things.
And it's up to you. Like for me, it's my choice. Nobody forces me. And it's a lot for, I think, the sector. Like for a normal job, it's not like I work till 2 a.m. That's not the case.
It's the flexi time system. So if you do end up working longer, you can kind of earn it back as vacation days. And I can say, having worked in work for investment banks, with 14, 15-hour days sometimes. ESA's not like, they really do respect your work-life balance. And again, highlight what Sofia was saying about the flexible working conditions. You are allowed up to 9 days a month outside of your country of where you're working to telework. If you want to do that, you can also obviously we have a very nice vacation package, but then also working from home within your the country where you're based, you can also do this in addition, and it just requires your manager's approval. But I would say, echo what Sofia said, is that if you're here for a year or two, you're going to get the most out of it by being on site. And I don't just mean that from the kind of learning and development side, but also the social side as well. You're going to meet lifelong friends, and the space industry is a lot smaller than people think. And so you're going to come across everyone in 10, 20 years. And so sometimes that extra hour on the tennis court or in the board game society or on a career trip or something, that's going to be really useful. You shouldn't be underestimated.
Yeah. Tati, do you want to tell us about your typical day in the life of?
Well, some things are quite similar to Sofia because, we kind of live in the same street as well. That's a bit, but for example, breakfast, I usually go, so we have 2 breakfast places. There is the coffee corner, in which the breakfast is way more business-like, I would say. And then there is the lunch pad, which is not lunch pad. Okay. That is where you can get like an English breakfast if you want. So there are eggs, things like that. I really like personally to eat a lot for breakfast, so I go there. I think I arrive a bit later with respect to Sophie, usually between 8:30 and 9, if I'm good. But we can arrive up till 11. I always try not to do that. But if we wanted to, we can arrive up till 11. As Sophie already talked about YPSAT, I also work a bit more on my YGT. I did a lot of different things in my EGT, sorry, I have to say. So a few projects, maybe later I can talk a bit more about one of them. And yeah, usually we go to lunch. I also do a lot of sports, like a lot also with Sophie, so yeah, it's quite nice. And yeah, I would say we have also 3 different types of canteens, so you can always choose a bit what to eat. They have a lot of different choices at this in Aztec, so it's quite nice. And yeah, projects, I mainly work on RAMs, as I said before, but this was not the EGT focus when I applied. So my background is a bit more in software and programming. So now I'm working a bit on model-based engineering and trying to integrate RAMs in model-based engineering. It's been quite nice because I work also in a task force with NASA and JAXA, so it's super nice to connect monthly to see how it works everywhere, like one of the things that I really, really like about ESA. And yeah, but I have to say, I work a lot on the side also as a young ESA coordinator, but I try to do it on my spare time because I think I already have enough flexi. But yeah, it's quite nice.
Great.
No.
And
Armin?
Yeah.
I know I had the chance to have the chance to experience two different work environments. Schedule-wise, I think kind of a regular guy and didn't effort too much across the site. So I go to work in the morning and go home afterwards. So that's fine. But the projects I do differed widely from my time at Aztec and my time here at ESC, and it's for me it's a great thing. So at Aztec, I worked in a really in an expert section, and I did a really specific research task, and I was able to really dive deep into that topic. And then I had YP set aside, which gave me also something practical to do and some teamwork with people, which was really great. And so I learned a lot on the specific topic. I had these really world-class experts around, great experience. And here at EAC, it's actually the opposite. So the section I'm here in, it's not a regular section, but we are the spaceship EAC. And what we are like a group of, quite young people. So actually the biggest part are interns, which are the most of them are master students, which are here for half a year. And then we have some graduates like me, 3 or 4 in the moment. And we do prototype development for human spaceflight with focus on the moon. So me and my colleagues, we do all kinds of projects and all kinds of stuff. Like there are people trying to build bricks, and they're not trying to, they actually do. They build bricks out of lunar dust. There are people who try to build solar cells onto moonstones, so you could also produce them in space on the moon. And for me, I am now developing a sensor prototype, which then is supposed to work on the moon with wirelessly with other sensors and building a network. So what I'm actually doing is prototyping, and I really have to broaden my mind and do every kind of stuff. And I'm surrounded by lots of students suddenly. You're not surrounded by these experts anymore. So you suddenly know best. And you're the expert in the field. So and this is quite not so special, and maybe also not so scientific as the Aztec before. But I can really dive into different topics. I do software, I do 3D modeling, I do electronic hardware development, and I can cover a lot of. I have to cover a lot of topics here, and it's also a really good experience, and it's great that I have both.
Really cool.
Yeah, just maybe on my side, I just wanted to ask that I did things like also organizing a conference, working as the students. I think sometimes as EGT, they kind of put you where you're needed in the section a lot. And that's something that I find super interesting because I got to see a lot of different things. So, yeah, super nice.
So do you think this has prepared you for the next step in your career if you decide to stay in space or something else?
Yep. Yeah. Of course, yeah. Yeah. So at first in your everyday life, you like hear about all these projects and all these companies involved, and you get a bit of an idea how the space industry works. At least a bit. But you know about stuff, and maybe also interesting. You hear about the last year's YGTs, what they're doing, which companies they enter, and so you get an idea of what you could do. Topic-wise, also, so professional-wise.
Armin Copper.
You learn a lot here, and learning is always good.
Armin Copper 1S wants to know what your sensor is for. What does it do?
Okay, like I don't want to dive too deep into that concept, but it's mainly about the sensor module. So the idea that we are able to spread a lot of little cheap sensors over a big area and then equip them with the sensors we need. So in the moment it's quite simple. There's an UV radiation sensor and magnetic sensor because they are simple to realize in the first prototype, but they have the potential to be equipped with something more special, maybe measuring the charge of lunar dust, something like this. So it gets special there. So if you know about it, yeah, that's it. But the idea is more like the module and providing the platform to attach little sensors to it.
Great. Sarah Barnes wants to know, if successful, are the interviews in person or are they online?
Yeah, sure. I saw that question from Sarah. It's a good one because we didn't touch on it yet. So all of the interview process, none of it will be done in person, face to face. It might differ depending on the position, but generally what's true is there's always a final round interview with 2 or 3 candidates, and that'll be done via Teams. But in addition to that, some positions, if there's lots of applications or if they have specific criteria to try and narrow down, they might have a first round interview, which could be via Teams or a phone call. There's also a tool called Cameo. And for those of you who are in the chat, it's CAMMIO. I just want to highlight that because if you go on, you're on YouTube now, but if you search for Cameo interview tips, you might see some suggestions because it's quite an unusual format. Armin, Tatiana, Sofia, did any of you do Cameo? I'm not sure.
No.
In your case,
I had a phone call.
So, phone call, right? So there's an example that was different. But for Cameo, I myself have never done it as a candidate, but essentially it's kind of a robo interview, and a question will flash on the screen. You have a few seconds to compose yourself and think of an answer. Then it will record the answer. You have to stick to quite a strict timeline. So I would encourage you, just in case this is one of the tools that will be used for the down selection process, you can get some tips on how the software kind of works. Not ESA specific, but just there's plenty of videos out there explaining. I remember having one candidate who told me that they thought it was useful to have a photograph just above the camera so that it was like they were interviewing. It was a French person who chose President Macron for some reason. That was not the hiring manager, but they found it quite useful to have somebody, if you can, stalk whoever your hiring manager is, why not put it up there, whatever works for you. But just, it's quite a weird, I find it quite unnatural. So we know that it is difficult, so you're not going to be penalized. Try not to worry if that's one of the formats that's used. But eventually it will come down to this kind of final interview where we'll test your technical and behavioral competencies like we discussed with Armin earlier. So I would take the chance to mention that, and just linked a bit to some of the questions that I also saw in the chat. Koppers was asking, do we have any Lithuanians? Because I think he might be from Lithuania, or even Estonian, Latvian. Yes, we do have Baltic EGTs. The eligible countries as Estonia as a member state and Lithuania, Latvia as associate members. For sure, not the majority, but usually every year there's 1, 2, or 3 from these countries. So you should definitely apply if you're from there.
And how many people do you accept for each position?
Yeah, unless specified otherwise, it's always 1. So I think this year there is 1 position where there's 2. So there's 1 opportunity where there's going to be 2 trainees selected, and that's explained in the vacancy. But otherwise, it's 1 opportunity, one EGT. So yes, there'll be 113 people selected from 112 positions this year. Yes, across all of our establishments, and like I said, even French Guiana and the ESA Washington DC office. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
And like the criteria as well, it's they should have finished their masters 1 year.
It's more actually that's good that you bring that up, Maggie, because someone was asking in the chat. They said it'll be the last time I ask the question, so they don't annoy us. But they graduated October 2023, so it was LAS or WAS. So the criteria actually is you should be in your final year of your master's degree, so about to graduate, or have recently graduated. But actually the recent graduated part, what we care about is your years of experience. So if the person who asked that question, since October 2023, they went backpacking for 2 years, they don't have more than 1 year of experience. So yes, you are eligible. But if you've been working for, the full time after that, it's going to be borderline. I would still encourage you to apply, but we also have other programs if you kind of go more over the kind of 1.5 years of experience. I mean, it's designed for 0 to 1 year is what we'd say, but it's of experience, not time since you graduated.
Thanks, Andrew. So I do think we are coming towards the end of our segment. So if you're dying to ask some final questions, put them down there and I might squeeze you in.
Could I throw one to you, Maggie? Because I think
Yeah.
I saw one of your videos which is linked to this. And people are asking what's life like at Harwell at EXAT, so the UK. It was Sarah actually, and we have something called the Open Days at ESA. I think you participated and made a video about the Open Day that was at EXAT, right? So how was that?
It was busy. It was the first one ever put on, and clearly everyone loves space because I think it took me about 2 hours just to get into the car park, and we were all parking on the field. Yeah, it was really packed. Everyone was really enthusiastic about it. And it was just brilliant being there. There was astronauts there. You could get to see them and talk to them, ask them questions. I don't know what it's like working there, but I have visited the Harwell site before, and it's a bunch of science and space companies on site, right? Yeah. So the people that you're surrounded by are the same people that I've been around with at ESAC. Super talented people, passionate about space and science, and you can really feel it in the atmosphere there. So and the building's really cool as well.
If I can add something to that, I've never been, but a lot of my directorate is based in EXAT, and I think it's really a site that they're trying to invest a lot in growing and making, let's say, a family as many other ESA sites. So I know there's a lot of plans. There's many EGTs now from at least CSC that are going to be based there. So I really think it has a big potential. I know there's going to be a 5G hub just dedicated to understand better how it works, what is the future of it. So it's really, really, in my opinion, interesting to, even during the open days, just go there and see it. It can be for sure super, super nice. And Young ESA has a very, very strong community there because it's a bit harder compared to other sites to really connect with the, let's call it, maiden land, if you want to. But yeah, I know with Young ESA, they're doing incredible events, conferences in Oxford, workshops, so it can be very stimulating.
I'd like to plug in there as well. It's not the only site that does open days. You do open days across your sites, right? So definitely check them out.
ESTEC's the big one, I'd say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
suppose you all
ESAC is
have-
better, to be honest.
ESAC one's very nice. EAC, did they have the open day in EAC, Armin? No, I'm not sure if they have.
Since I'm here. I'm also I'm not sure. So we have visitors all the time. They're like visiting groups every day here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the open day, but I'm just not sure.
Did any of you help out with the ESTEC open day? It's one of the things sometimes that you all know it perfect. A lot of the graduate trainees often help out with, because I'd highlight the very first day is really cool. It's kind of a short session specifically for people with a disability, and so it's all in the Erasmus Centre that we have, and we have these. There's a lot of. It's great for families as well, and kids come, and we had like a life-size Wall-E robot that was being communicated, that was being controlled, playing with the kids and stuff. And then the next day is the main one, where there's thousands of visitors from all over Europe and beyond coming. And I think it's cool to participate as a volunteer, because you're also getting exposed to all of the other parts of ESA that you're not working on specifically, even if it's just getting like the merch of the posters and stuff from all the different directorates. It's quite it's a good way to learn. I remember the last year, I think it was, the materials lab had some like 3D printed human skin and stuff like that. It was like very cool and creepy, and you wouldn't know what's going on if you're focused in your little bubble. So it's really nice to get an idea.
Yeah. 2 years ago they had they like, you can also visit the big test center of ESTEC, which is also really, really cool to see the facilities. And like 2 years ago, they had a T-fighter from Star Wars, one of them, in life size. Nice.
We also got to present. We had a Young ESA panel during the open day. So there was a room in which a lot of the EGTs presented what they do at ESA. We also had a poster for WebISAT, for example. So it's quite nice to also get the people outside of ESA to know what we do actually here.
And there's a lot of merch, which is also not bad.
That's amazing.
So I think we can all recommend. So if you're at the Netherlands sometime, try to get to the open day of ESTEC. It's really fun. And like, how many? 20,000 people or something every time?
Yeah. So what's going on? Really a lot.
Right, Andrew, I'm going to squeeze this question in before my last question for you all.
Yes.
It's from Leon Deegan, who is really, really curious to know, because he's asked this so many times. I know some of you have answered, well, I think it was Sofia who mentioned that ESA are interested in knowing what your favourite space mission is. But Andrew, what's your favourite book, and do you include that in your CV or cover letter?
Yeah, I think it's because I mentioned before that I did indeed put on my in my cover letter that Pale Blue Dot by Carl Sagan was my favorite book. And like I mentioned, Liam, it came up in my interview because they were saying, "Okay, tell me about it," and go into the specifics. And it was really like 30-40% of the interview ended up coming from this one little comment. And I think it can be the same as if on your CV. Maybe you can put it there if you want. It's up to you. But I remember we had a EGT interview where they said they were into amateur astronomy, just as a hobby. And then that became a part of the interview. It was not for an astronomy position, but they asked about how they got involved in a society, and we tested the behavioral side, your motivation. So you can put it on CV, cover letter. It's one of the ways I think you can, if you don't have a lot of space on your CV, it's one of the ways you can add it. But it's not mandatory to have space on your CV. It just obviously helps show that you've taken the time to personalize your application to ESA.
Great. So this is going to be the very last question, and it's going to be to each of you trainees. It's from Husk, and he wants to know, what is the most rewarding experience that you had during your traineeship? Who wants to start?
No, I have to think for a second. Sorry.
Oh wow, silent. We have too many choices.
There are many different things. So, for example, I worked for YPZ1, and then of course the YPZ1 launch, and was very exciting, and the fact that it worked perfectly was very, very cool. That is the thing. I just recently, it's personal, but I just recently met my friends, my old friends now from ESTEC again, and I really, really felt happy back then to meet these people again, and of course they are strongly connected with ESA for me. So this is also very rewarding. And then generally, when you really feel that your horizon widens, so like you move to a foreign country, and then you do something different there, and you have to make decisions, and you do meet people, and then like you feel yourself growing. That's quite rewarding.
Great. Maybe Tati?
I am still thinking. I don't know if
I can go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So I personally think I had a great EGT experience, and I'm thankful, like literally for almost every day, even though many have been also hard. I think you appreciate them after those. It's not always sunny and funny as we're describing now. There is some hard days too, but that's what makes the reward even better. For me, for me personally, one of the best memories I have is, but definitely seeing YPZ1 being successful. I cried. I wasn't part of it, but it was a very, very hard moment for YPZ2 because technically nothing was working. And seeing them being successful, I'm like, okay, Sofia, you got it. It's going to work. You're going to find a way. So July was full of up and downs, but it was definitely an incredible moment for me. Then I got the chance to really do a lot of things. I went on mission many times to Paris, so I was able to see headquarters. I went to ESA in Belgium, so I literally was able to feel all the description. I went to ESA in Madrid, all the description everybody did, because it's really, and that's super rewarding for me, because I really feel I had a full vision of ESA. And yeah, the biggest success was when I've been told that we secured funding for YPZ2. That was really, really a huge moment for me. But yeah, I think these are the best memories. Of course, the people; those are gonna be with me forever. Also, my team. It's really nice people. Like, I'm happy to work with each of them.
And Tatiana, did you think of one?
Yeah, I have to say, like, it's very, very hard, because, well, as I was saying before, I feel like I lived like 50 different lives since I came here. Like going back from September of last year, I did a lot of things. But maybe like one of the things that sums up all together, because of course I also being part of YPSAT, like today that we get like for the first time 3D printed, and it's not the real structure, but my design, which was something that, I've only done in projects at work, like this today was already very, very nice. Maybe the young professional event, let's say, but just because also with YPSAT we met all the people, so we had a very nice social event with YPSAT people. I also was part of the social events, so I organized some social events for the YPE. We did this very big pub crawl in Leiden, that everyone, like 100 people participated in something that me and another friend we organized. And it was just super nice to see everyone coming to me saying, oh, we had such an amazing time, we met so many people. But also, like, I had a poster, we do also a poster session about my work. And I always think that maybe people are not too interested about what I do as an EGT. Instead, there are a lot of people came and were actually interested in my poster, were asking me about my job, which sometimes here I feel like I talk with people mainly about YPSAT and the social events, but actually I like what I do. So, and yeah, I would say this day in which everything happened all together, it was really a fun event, and it kind of sums up everything that we do here.
I think that's great. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think that's all we have time for questions. So that concludes our live Q&A session. Thank you for everyone for joining us. If you've got questions in the chat left over that we didn't answer, I'm sure Andrew and ESA and even myself, we might come back and answer them later on. This should be recorded. So if you've still got dying questions, like leave them in the chat too, and we'll get back to you in some short time afterwards. And once again, I'd love to thank our guests today, Andrew, Tati, Armin and Sofia. It's been great having you on. Thanks guys. Bye.
Thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.